Hi, everyone, and welcome to your math lesson for today. Let's keep it up with the dogs. Yeah, they just make me smile, make me laugh. And this one especially made me laugh. So, with that funny little picture of that dog, I'm going to share a funny dog joke for you today. So, my first joke for you is this. Did you hear about the vampire who got a pet dog? He always wanted a bloodhound. How about this one here? What's a dog's favorite kind of pizza? Pepperoni. So share those with your family today. All right. And today, on to our math lesson. We are already done with our this chapter, which went so quickly. And we are going to go ahead and today we're going to do the review. And then tomorrow, you'll do a practice test today. And then tomorrow, your parents will give you the actual test as well as a vocab test with it. Because remember, we have to know our vocab. The vocabulary in math is just as important as your vocab and your spelling in reading and total language. So we'll start with our page number 631. Our word bank up on top reads like this: hour, half hour, quarter hour, minute, analog, digital, PM, AM. Remember, again, whenever we're taking a test, we do those vocab words that we know for sure first, and then we go back to check on the others. So make sure you understand the words. Make sure if you have a problem reading those, we're going to go ahead and practice a little here today. Number one, the long hand on an analog clock is we've talked about the long hand and the short hand. So taking a look up here, which one was the long hand? Well, the two hands are either the hour or the minute. And if you said minute, you are correct. Now, I would like you to write the actual word, but Mrs. Swint, because the pen doesn't work as conveniently as your pen, I'm going to just draw a line. Number two, the shorthand on an analog clock is well, if this is the hour, the other hand represents if this is the minute, the other hand represents, and I gave you the answer. Mrs. Swint's brain is working faster, I think, than her mouth sometimes. So we would put hour here. Number three, 15 minutes is let's see what we have left. Is 15 minutes a half hour, a quarter hour? Is it a analog? Is it a digital? Is 15 minutes is a PM? Is an AM? What makes the most sense? What sounds right? And if you said quarter hour, you're right on. Because we said 15 minutes, there's 4 sets of 15 minutes in a clock. So each of these 15 minutes are considered a quarter hour. Well, then we have number 4. 30 minutes is it's a half hour. Because we know 60 minutes is a whole hour. If you only have half of 60, which is 30, you've got your half hour. Number 5, a clock that uses hands to show the time. This key word here is hands. Which one of my clocks, and I have a digital or an analog, which one of those use the actual hands, the hour hand and the minute hand? If you said analog, you are right. And I'm also going to give you another hint. If you have a word like an, A-N, any word after an, the article an, is going to begin with a vowel. Analog begins with a vowel. Digital does not. So that's another clue. Number 6, a clock that uses numbers to show the time is that's the only other type of clock that we've studied, which is a digital clock. The hours from noon, so think about at lunch when we eat our lunch, to midnight are, is it the PM or the AM? And if you said PM, you are correct. You can almost think of it as maybe post-morning. So then last but not least, the hours from midnight to noon would be the AM hours at morning. Let's turn the page. On the next page, we have examples of several clocks. They want us to read the time and then write the time. So number 9, if I take a look at this, I would first take a look. We always start with the hour. So we'll start with the hour of 9. The hour of, it's not quite the 6, past the 5. So the hour is going to be 5. And then I got to tell my minutes. Remember, with minutes, just like yesterday, the other day, we could go ahead and count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So we can say this is 5:45. You could also do the shortcuts, though. You could, if you remembered that a quarter of an hour was 15, at the 6 was 30, at the 9 is 45. If you remember that, it makes it a lot easier. Let's take a look at number 10. First, we start with the hour. The hour is 4. My hour hand is closest to the 4. I have how many minutes past the hour? 5, 10. Is going to be 4:10. I can say 10 after 4, or I can say 4:10. Number 11, taking a look at the hour. Well, although it's closer to 7, it's not there yet. So I always go back to the previous number. The number before is a 6. So the hour is 6. How many minutes? Well, I know it. If the minute hand would have been at 6, it was 30 minutes. But it's 10 more minutes after that. So 30, 35, 40. Tell what time is shown on the clocks, and then draw the hands. On my digital clock, it says 7:35. So I know my hour is between the 7 and the 8. Looks like we better make that a little thinner. And then my minutes is 35. That's going to be almost the easier one, because we're going to go exactly on the 7. The minute hand will be on the 7, because I know at the 6 it's 30. 5 more minutes would be at the 7. Let's take a look at number 13. We have 4:25. Again, my hour hand, I'll start with the shorthand. The shorthand is going to be was after the 4, about halfway between the 4 and the 5. And I can see that the 25 minutes, at the 3, it's 15. So let's continue counting by 5. 15, 20, 25. So my minute hand is going to, or the longer hand will be right there on the 5. Let's take a look at 6:55. Again, I'm going to start with the hour hand. The hour hand is 6. So I know it's not up to 7 yet, but there's only 60 minutes in an hour. So it's going to be pretty close to that 7. So my shorthand, and then 55 is going to be, I'm going to put it off the clock so you can tell for sure that that's the longer hand. The minute hand is at 55. On the 15 and 16 and 17, they want us to circle the best choice. So walking the dog, would I be doing that at 11:45 a.m. or p.m.? Well, p.m. is pretty close to midnight. I think most of us are in bed at midnight. So I'm going to say the best time would be 11:45 a.m. How about going hiking? Would I do that at 2:30 a.m. in the middle of the night? Or would I do that in the middle of the afternoon? Remember, lunch is at noon, 12 o'clock p.m. I probably would do 2:30 p.m. washing the dinner dishes. So this is after lunch. We would have dinner. And if I have dinner, dinner is going to be 6:30. It's not going to be a.m. because that's at the morning. It's going to be p.m., past the morning. Let's go ahead to the next page. On the next page, we have our problem solving. On a clock, the hour hand is between the 2 and the 3. The minute hand is on the 5. What time is it? So I simply need to draw this to make my illustration. So between 2 and 3, okay, we've got between the 2 and the 3. I've got the minute hand then. We'll put it on the 5. If I showed it on my cute little Judy clock, let's go ahead and do it this way. I would have what time? Well, I'm going to have the time of 2, counting my minutes, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So I'm at 2:25. Brain builders, the time is 9 a.m. In 6 hours and 5 minutes, Greg will leave for school. So he's going to leave school in 6 hours, 5 minutes. What time will that be when he leaves school? And it's a two-part question because they also want us to say, is that a.m. or p.m.? Well, after school, I know that's post-morning. And so I can circle that immediately. But now I have to find out, first of all, what I know. It's 9 a.m. I'm going to take my clock and I've got it set for 9 a.m. Then I'm going to go ahead and it says in 6 hours. So let's rotate the clock 6 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's not only 6 hours. It's 6 hours, 5 minutes. What time will it be? If you said, because we want to look at the hour first, 3:05, you're correct. You needed to write 3, remember those colons, and it's not just 5. We have to put a 0, 5. If I just put 5, it'll look like 50. So we need to make sure if it's before a double digit, you put a 0 in front of it. So it's 3:05 p.m. Then we have Derek. Derek has basketball practice at 2:30. Luke has practice 2.25 hours later, meaning after. Show the times on the clock, write the time, and circle a.m. or p.m. Derek has practice at 2:30. All right. So if we put our small hand, I'm going to erase that and make it a little bit better for us. I'm going to bring it back. If it's 2:30, I want my hour hand to be between the 2 and the 3. We'll see. Get that pen to work, Mrs. Swint. So it's between the 2 and the 3 is my hour hand. 2. And then 30, well, I know that's half past the hour. So we've got our colon that separates our hour and our minutes, colon. And then we know this is p.m. because they're not going to have basketball practice in the middle of the night. But now, Luke, the question is this. If Derek was at 2:30 and his clock looks like what we have just drawn, Luke has practiced 2.25 hours later. 2 hours later is pretty easy. I could go 4:30. I could do 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 3:30, 4:30. And then I need to remember to put 15 more minutes on that. A quarter hour is 15 minutes. So 5, 10, 15. What time will Luke have practice? Well, looking at my clock, I know the hour is 4. So I can put a 4. It's not quite to the 5. And the minute hand, though, is at quarter till 5, or I could say I know this was 30, 35, 40, 45. So it's at 4:45 is when Luke has practice. Would this be AM or PM? Well, because Derek was PM, I would say then we know Luke is going to be PM. The boat picked up passengers every half hour. If the first boat arrives at 8 a.m., the question is this: when will the fourth boat arrive? So you need to go set a clock at 8 and think about 4 more hours. In something like this, you could almost use your fingers. You could say 8 a.m. All right, that's the first boat. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., 4 hours, 12. And we're not going to be a.m. because now we are, when it hit the 12, we hit p.m. Right around lunch hour. So let's take a look at our next page. The next page is the reflection. You can go ahead and take a look at that. You do not have to do the performance task pages. If you want to extend learning and you can go right ahead. Today, then, do test 1A. Tomorrow and Friday, you'll go ahead with your test 2A in the vocab and turn everything in. Do well with it and have a wonderful weekend. I'll miss you guys. Take care.